In a remarkable twist of fate, a lone scruffy wolf pup began shadowing Officer Ryan, a steadfast and dedicated police officer known for his unwavering commitment to his small-town community. At first, he dismissed the tiny creature as just another stray animal, lost or in search of food. But as the days turned into weeks, the wolf's presence became impossible to ignore. Everywhere Ryan went, the little wolf appeared, waiting outside the station, following his patrol car, and even lingering near his home. Its deep, sorrowful eyes held a silent plea, an unspoken message that stirred something profound within him. Despite his years of experience facing emergencies with calm resolve, he found himself unprepared for the flood of emotions brought on by this determined animal. Determined to understand the wolf's relentless pursuit, Ryan shifted his approach. Instead of treating it as a nuisance, he began leaving food outside the station, speaking softly whenever it drew near, and watching its movements with increasing curiosity. Slowly, the small creature began to trust him, edging closer each day, its silent cries for help growing louder in his heart. One chilly evening, after another long shift, Ryan was heading home when the wolf abruptly halted in front of him, fixing its intense gaze upon him. In that fleeting, heart-stopping moment, the truth hit him like a tidal wave. The wolf was not simply following him aimlessly, it was leading him somewhere. Intrigued and compelled by a newfound sense of responsibility, Ryan decided to follow. The wolf, limping slightly, guided him through dimly lit streets to an abandoned, decrepit building at the outskirts of town. The air was thick with an eerie stillness, and as Ryan cautiously stepped inside, his breath caught at what he discovered. Amidst the shadows and debris, nestled in a makeshift den, lay a second wolf, a severely injured adult, its breathing shallow, its body frail. The realization struck him hard. The tiny wolf had not been seeking help for itself, but for the one it loved. It had placed its trust in the only person it believed could make a difference. Overwhelmed with emotion, Ryan dropped to his knees, the weight of the moment breaking. But through his professional composure, tears welled in his eyes as he absorbed the depth of this little creature's loyalty, courage, and desperation. This was not just an animal seeking shelter. It was a devoted companion, a protector, and a survivor, willing to do whatever it took to save the one it cherished. Without hesitation, Ryan called for a local wildlife rescue team, ensuring that both wolves received the care they so desperately needed. As he watched the injured wolf being gently carried away, he turned back to the pup, who now gazed up at him with quiet gratitude. In that instant, Ryan knew his life had been forever changed. This was more than a simple tale of an officer and a wild animal. It was a testament to the unbreakable bonds of love and the lengths to which one will go for those they hold dear. It was a story of trust, sacrifice, and an unspoken connection that defied the boundaries between human and beast. And for Officer Ryan, it was a reminder that sometimes the ones who need saving aren't always the ones we expect, but the ones who find us when we least expect it. It was a cold winter night when Rahul found himself stranded on an abandoned road. His car had broken down and his phone had no signal. The moon cast eerie shadows through the twisted branches of the leafless trees that lined the road. He had no choice but to walk towards the nearest village, which was rumored to be haunted. As he trudged through the desolate path, he saw an old mansion standing amidst the fog. The mansion seemed abandoned, yet its grand structure held an ominous presence. A flickering light from one of the windows caught his attention. Against his better judgment, he decided to seek shelter inside. Pushing open the heavy door, Rahul stepped into the mansion's dark corridors. The air was thick with dust, and the silence was unsettling. As he moved forward, he noticed old portraits on the walls, their eyes seemingly following his every move. A sudden chill ran down his spine when he heard whispers echoing through the hallway. "Who's there?" he called out, but only the whispers responded, growing louder with each passing second. His heartbeat raced as he entered a grand hall where an ancient chandelier swayed despite the still air. Suddenly, the door behind him slammed shut, trapping him inside. He turned around only to find a shadowy figure standing in the corner. The figure had glowing red eyes and an unsettling grin. "You shouldn't have come here." The voice was deep and hollow. Rahul staggered, back, fear gripping his very soul. Who are you?" he stammered. The shadow moved closer, revealing a reflection of Rahul himself, a sinister version, with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. "I am you," the shadow whispered. "The part you've buried deep inside." Rahul felt an invisible force pulling him towards the shadow. His mind flooded with suppressed fears, regrets, and dark desires. He struggled, but the pull was too strong. The mansion seemed to close in around him, the walls shifting, morphing into endless darkness. A scream echoed through the night, but by morning, the mansion stood silent once more. Rahul was never seen again, but the shadow still lingered, waiting for the next lost soul to step inside, embarking on a journey that required even greater courage, unity, and a willingness to confront the tangled web of myth and memory. The Henderson family found themselves at a crossroads in the wake of Samuel's shocking confession. The revelation shattered their sense of stability, transforming their home into a battleground of emotions, where love, grief, and disbelief clashed with one another. The once predictable household now pulsed with an undercurrent of unease. Mrs. Henderson, the matriarch who had always been the pillar of strength, found herself crumbling under the weight of raw, unfiltered sorrow. Late at night, she would sit in the dimly lit parlor, tracing the delicate lines of Samuel's final letter, her mind replaying tender moments that now carried the burden of unspoken regret. The man she had adored was no longer just a figure of unwavering virtue, but a complex soul burdened by secrets. For Mr. Henderson, the eldest son, the revelation forced him to confront the duality of his father's nature. In the solitude of his study, surrounded by relics of the past, he pored over Samuel's confession with trembling hands. The man he had idolized was now a paradox, both hero and flawed mortal. The struggle to reconcile these two images waged war within him, leaving him questioning the very nature of legacy and honor. Within the extended family, the reaction was equally divided. At a tense family gathering beneath the glow of a single chandelier, voices rose in discord. Some believed the truth should remain buried, preserving Samuel's spotless image. Others, however, insisted that healing could only begin with unfiltered honesty. "We cannot heal if we continue to hide," one relative declared, her eyes burning with conviction. Old wounds resurfaced, bringing with them long-buried resentments, as the family grappled with the reality that their history was far more intricate than they had ever acknowledged. Beyond the confines of their home, whispers of the Henderson family's turmoil spread throughout the community. At the town diner and along hushed street corners, the locals speculated about Max, the loyal dog whose relentless barking had become an eerie backdrop to unfolding events. Some elders recalled ancient tales of guardian animals appearing in times of great upheaval, their presence a harbinger of necessary reckonings. But skeptics dismissed these as mere folklore, preferring to see the events as nothing more than human frailty laid bare. Meanwhile, David Chi, a close family friend and chronicler of the unfolding saga, meticulously documented every nuance on his blog. His words resonated with those who had faced their own battles with family secrets. One particularly striking post described Max's persistent barking as an embodiment of the unspoken pain within the Henderson household, an unrelenting plea for truth and reconciliation. Then, on a stormy night, the mystery deepened. Mrs. Henderson spotted an unusual, flickering light in the graveyard beside the family estate. At first, she dismissed it as a trick of the storm. But as the night progressed, the light grew steady, moving deliberately among the tombstones. Driven by both dread and curiosity, she urged Mr. Henderson to investigate. The following morning, under a slate-grey sky, Mr. Henderson, David, and a few trusted family members ventured into the cemetery. There, near an ancient, crumbling tomb, they discovered a small, unmarked stone engraved with cryptic symbols, eerily similar to those found in Samuel's old journal. The implications were staggering. Samuel's confession had not merely been a personal reckoning, but a clue to something much older, something woven into the fabric of their ancestral legacy. As if on cue, an anonymous message appeared on David's blog, signed by someone calling themselves Hope's Keeper. The message read, The light you witnessed is but a beacon. Look where the shadows linger, for there the past speaks. Attached was a blurred photograph of a solitary figure standing near the newly discovered stone. The silhouette seemed watchful, as though guarding the secrets buried beneath the earth. With each new revelation, the Hendersons were forced to acknowledge that their legacy was not a pristine narrative of honor and respectability, but a living, breathing history shaped by both triumph and tragedy. And through it all, Max continued his relentless vigil, his barking no longer just a haunting refrain, but a call to action, a warning. Demand. The Hendersons had a choice to make. Would they continue to suppress the truths of the past, or would they finally confront them, no matter how painful? As night fell once more, they gathered in solemn unity, the weight of generations resting upon their shoulders. The past was calling, and this time they could no longer ignore its voice. Dr. Morales, renowned for her unconventional methods of studying wildlife, explained that occurrences akin to what Ryan was experiencing, where a wolf sought aid from a human, had been recorded sporadically across the region. She recalled accounts of injured creatures appearing in unexpected locations, seemingly guided by an inexplicable instinct to seek human assistance. Her insights not only confirmed Ryan's growing suspicions, but also alluded to an ancient connection between humans and guardian beings, deeply embedded in local folklore. Meanwhile, an online forum dedicated to wilderness mysteries buzzed with speculation. Ryan's blog posts detailing Luna's relentless pursuit and the peculiar paths she followed attracted numerous commenters who shared eerily similar yet rarely discussed encounters. One user, Wild Whisperer, recounted a haunting moment with a small wolf that had appeared during a family crisis, offering silent yet profound companionship that turned despair into solace. Others mentioned age-old legends of a guiding wolf, manifesting in the lives of those standing at a crucial crossroads. As discussions grew, a supportive community began to form, individuals who believed these incidents weren't mere coincidences, but echoes of an ancestral bond between mankind and the wild. Within the precinct, subtle yet noticeable changes in camaraderie began taking shape. Some younger officers, inspired by Ryan's openness to unorthodox possibilities, started sharing their own accounts of inexplicable encounters with wildlife. Over coffee in the break room, one officer hesitantly confessed that during a late-night patrol he too had locked eyes with a lone wolf, an encounter that left him with an uncanny sense of communication. These shared revelations created an undercurrent of unity, gradually shifting the department's culture from rigid law enforcement to one that acknowledged the enigma of the wild. Beyond the precinct walls, townsfolk observed Luna's behavior with mounting intrigue. A retired teacher, Mrs. Aberney, who had spent her entire life in the town, reminisced about childhood tales of a small wolf appearing during times of sorrow, its presence a symbol of healing on the horizon. At a community gathering, she shared these recollections with wistful nostalgia, reinforcing the idea that Luna's emergence wasn't an anomaly, but part of a recurring, almost ritualistic phenomenon. Even within Ryan's own home, conversations turned introspective. His younger sister, always perceptive to emotional undercurrents, gently urged him to consider that Luna's persistence wasn't just about physical injury. The message struck a chord deep within Ryan, affirming that his experience with Luna wasn't mere coincidence, but part of an age-old legacy that transcended the boundaries of law enforcement and touched something primal. In the nights that followed, Luna's presence became increasingly significant. Each time Ryan stepped out of his car into the crisp night air, he noticed how she would pause at the roadside, gazing toward an unseen distance, as if beckoning him to seek out a hidden truth. The eerie parallels between her behavior and the words of the anonymous letter left him unsettled yet strangely resolute. With every passing day, as digital conversations, personal recollections, and cryptic messages intertwined, Ryan felt the division between duty and destiny blur. What had begun as a simple case of an injured animal had morphed into something far greater, a journey of self-discovery that compelled him to redefine the very essence of what it meant to serve and protect. It was a call to embrace the wild, not as an officer sworn to law but as a guardian of deeper truths, bridging the gap between humanity and nature. As weeks passed and Ryan's documentation of Luna's movements grew more detailed, tensions within the community intensified. What had started as a mere curiosity had evolved into a profound mystery, one that not only challenged his professional detachment, but also stirred emotions he had long suppressed. The growing body of evidence pointed to one inescapable question: why was this wolf seeking him out? The patterns in Luna's behavior were too deliberate to ignore. His logbooks and video footage revealed a clear trend. Every time she approached the station or followed him home, she showed signs of pain. A hesitant gait, a lingering stare at hidden pathways, an inexplicable fixation on certain locations. The realization unsettled him. Luna wasn't just a lost creature. She was a wounded soul with a buried past. One especially bitter night, after reviewing footage of Luna pausing at a narrow alleyway, Ryan found himself at a crossroads. His training dictated that wild animals should be viewed as either threats or mere bystanders to human affairs. Yet Luna's deliberate actions defied that notion. That night, as he sat alone in his car after his shift, the memory of Luna resting her head on his lap surfaced, a fleeting moment of vulnerability that shattered his years of practiced detachment. The recollection forced him to confront his own unspoken grief, the loneliness that had accompanied him through years of rigid duty. His internal struggle mirrored external pressures. The media had caught wind of Luna's case, and theories spread like wildfire. Some labeled it a simple wildlife matter, others saw it as something more, a bridge between the natural and supernatural. Even within his department, skepticism wavered. A junior officer tentatively approached him one evening asking, "Could this wolf be trying to tell us something?" Meanwhile, at a heated town hall meeting, the community divided into opposing camps. Traditionalists argued that nature should be left alone, while others, inspired by Ryan's unwavering conviction, insisted that compassion must play a role in protecting vulnerable lives. "This isn't about sentimentality," one advocate declared. "It's about recognizing that even the wild suffers, and we have a responsibility to acknowledge that pain." The tipping point arrived when an anonymous tip landed at the station. The message was chilling in its simplicity. "The wounds run deeper than you know. Look to the past to uncover the truth." Attached was a grainy photograph of Luna near an abandoned wildlife reserve, an area tied to old unresolved tragedies. The implications were staggering. Luna wasn't just seeking aid. Her suffering was a thread woven into a forgotten mystery. Confronted with this revelation, Ryan knew he could no longer ignore the signs. The time had come to step beyond the confines of his badge and embrace a role far greater than that of a law enforcer. That night, beneath a storm-laden sky, he made a quiet vow. He would uncover the truth. Not just for Luna, but for the forgotten. Echoes of the past calling out through her wounded cries. As rain pattered against his windshield and the wind whispered through the trees, Ryan reached a decision. He would follow Luna's trail to its source, no matter where it led, even if it meant confronting the ghosts of his own past. The call of the wild demanded nothing less. Pushing through the tangled undergrowth and navigating the uneven terrain, every step carried an air of trepidation. Yet with each careful movement, they edged closer to the long-buried secrets that had cast shadows over the town for generations. Ryan's gaze remained locked on Luna as she moved ahead with an almost calculated urgency. The whisper of her pause against the layered foliage merged with the faint sigh of the wind, crafting an eerie symphony of suspense and reverence. Arriving at a secluded glade near the ruins of an ancient stone monument, the team uncovered traces that would forever alter their perception of the case. Weathered carvings, remnants of forgotten rituals, and scattered relics hinted at a time when guardian creatures were more than mere myths. They were protectors, symbols of hope bound to the land itself. The implications were staggering. Luna's injury and her relentless pursuit of Ryan seemed tied to an ancient covenant, a sacred duty that had tethered mankind to the wild for centuries. A palpable tension gripped the moment, as realization struck Ryan with an almost visceral force. His heart thundered with a mix of fear, resolve, and a strange sense of destiny. The rigid framework of his modern duty clashed against the whispers of an age-old legacy. Logic wavered in the face of folklore, forcing him to confront something deeper than evidence, a connection to a past he had never truly understood. Standing amidst the relics of a bygone era, his team silent in the weight of discovery, Ryan made a vow. This was no longer a mere investigation. It was a mission to bridge the chasm between the unyielding laws of men and the quiet, lingering truths of the natural world. Luna's journey had led them here for a reason, and he would not turn back. The answers lay in the shadows of history, waiting to be unearthed. That night, as storm clouds swirled and a cold wind howled through the empty streets, Ryan felt the burden of fate pressing upon him. Every entry in his case files, every fleeting glance exchanged with Luna, and every cryptic clue had brought him to this threshold. Parked at the edge of the desolate wildlife reserve, he inhaled the crisp night air, steeling himself for what lay ahead. His team, prepared for the covert mission, gathered their gear in hushed anticipation. The atmosphere buzzed with an unspoken energy, an awareness that the coming hours could change everything. Under the flickering glow of a single street lamp, Ryan examined the map littered with markings, locations where Luna had appeared, trails she had led him down, and the origins of her persistent wounds. Each detail, from the grainy footage capturing a pair of haunting eyes in the dark to the unsettling anonymous messages, formed an intricate puzzle leading to an undeniable truth. One message in particular replayed in his mind. The wounds run deeper than you know. Look to the past to find the truth. Now, as he prepared for the final push into the heart of the forest, those words carried an eerie weight. With a nod to his team, Ryan stepped into the abyss of towering trees, the sound of Luna's soft barks echoing through the wilderness. The forest pulsed with a living energy, as if it had been waiting for them. The deeper they ventured, the more the air thickened with an unshakable sense of foreboding. Then, through the tangle of vines and shifting shadows, they found it, a clearing where the ruins of a forgotten temple stood, silent and foreboding. Ancient stones worn by time bore cryptic symbols eerily similar to those on the pendant Ryan had recovered. A shiver ran through him as he traced the carvings with his fingertips. It was as if history itself was reaching out, demanding to be acknowledged. Then the wind stilled. A mournful howl cut through the quiet, a sound so raw and piercing it sent tremors down Ryan's spine. It was neither a call of aggression nor warning. It was a plea, a lament steeped in sorrow. The team exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just an animal's cry. It was something deeper, something ancient, stirring from its slumber. Luna, standing at the base of a gnarled oak that loomed like a silent guardian, turned her gaze to Ryan. No longer filled with desperation, her eyes now shone with something else. Recognition. Understanding. As if, after all this time, she had finally reached the place where her story could be told. Ryan moved toward her cautiously, his heart hammering as the storm above rumbled its fury. The pendant in his pocket seemed to hum with an unseen energy, and for the first time he allowed himself to accept the impossible. As his hand brushed Luna's fur, a chorus of whispers drifted through the clearing, words too faint to decipher yet powerful enough to send chills across his skin. The past and present wove together, unraveling a forgotten truth, one of loyalty, sacrifice, and an unbroken bond between guardian and man. He finally understood. Luna had not merely been seeking safety, she had been guiding him toward a reckoning centuries in the making. The storm began to dissipate, the first rays of dawn breaking through the canopy, illuminating the solemn ruins in a golden glow. In that charged silence, Ryan made a silent promise, not just to Luna, but to the spirits of the land and those who had come before. He would no longer see his duty as just law enforcement. He would be a guardian, a bridge between the rigid world of men and the quiet, enduring soul of the wild. Back in town, whispers of Ryan's journey began to spread. No longer just an officer, he had become a figure of change, proof that even those bound by rules could embrace the call of compassion. His journal entries detailing his transformation resonated deeply, inspiring others to reconsider the way they viewed nature, duty, and the unseen ties that bound them together. Luna's slow recovery mirrored Ryan's own rebirth. As she regained her strength, so did his understanding of what it meant to truly serve, not just as a protector of the law, but as a keeper of the silent, unspoken bonds that tether humanity to the forgotten wisdom of the earth. The legend of Awai, Luna, the wounded wolf who led a man to his destiny, would live on. And as Ryan stood at the crossroads of past and future, he embraced the truth that had been waiting for him all along, that the greatest strength lay not in rigid control, but in the courage to listen, to feel, and to heal,